Hey guys, it's Michelle and welcome back to Sweet Pea Farm NY. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about something kind of scary. It's called ORF or soremouth in the sheep and goat world. When I got sheep, people told me that if you have sheep, you're going to have ORF or soremouth eventually. And I was like, oh heck no, not my precious babies. But I can tell you that honestly, I have had ORF on my farm now 7 years later, and we've lived to tell the tale. So let's talk a little bit about what it is and how to survive it. So ORF is what I call it. Some people call it soremouth. It's a virus, no matter what you call it. It happens in sheep and goats. It can live in your ground. So if you get an animal that has it, then you are the possibility of an animal like picking up the virus from the ground is a possibility. So you want to make sure that if you have an animal that you're looking to buy that's a sheep or a goat, that you check their mouth when you're going to pick them up, and if you see anything that looks warty, that's what that is ORF. It's not the end of the world. They're going to survive it. The only time it's a really big problem is if it's a baby that's nursing. It can cause some issues on their suckling reflex and everything, but for the most part it's nothing to be like completely devastated over like I was initially. We had bought a sheep on an online sale. We had made arrangements to go pick it up in another state at a big sheep show, and when we picked it up, nobody said anything to us about the animal having ORF. Got it home, it was a lamb for one of my children, and lo and behold, it had ORF. I was pretty upset because the scariest part about ORF is that it is zoonotic, which means that if you touch the virus, in fact, area with an open wound on your hand or something, you can get ORF, and it's really painful. So it's something that you want to treat with care. You want to make sure that if you are dealing with ORF, my biggest recommendation is to, one, always consult your veterinarian. Isolate the animal if you can into an area that is something you can clean, like a small area that you can clean, and then hopefully lime heavily and re-gravel or re-dirt if possible, just to be as careful as possible. Always wear gloves when you are dealing with ORF. Always do the chores for the animal that's infected last, and then change your clothes right after so that you're not walking around with the possibility of it on you. ORF or soremouth is most often found around the lips of an animal. You can find it on any, like their eyes or teats if it's a nursing animal and an animal infected. If a lamb is infected and then it's nursing off the mom, then obviously you could find issues around the teats and udders. For treatment, definitely check with your veterinarian. There's not a lot you can do. Like I said, it's a virus. It usually takes about 10 to 14 days to run its course. The problem is that if you have one animal that's infected and it's been around other animals and you just noticed it, then sometimes it can have like a domino effect. So as one is getting over it, another one is starting. So it can cause kind of an issue like that. The positive side to dealing with ORF is that generally, once an animal has ORF, they're not likely to get it again. Although, like the flu, it's a virus and there can be different strains of soremouth or ORF. So it is possible if you were to pick up another strain somewhere to get it, but it is thought to be something that once they've had it, then they're not likely to get it again. It is more likely for you to pick up such a thing from either buying in new animals and you not noticing that they have it, or going to shows like county fairs and state fairs and sheep shows or goat shows, like things like that. It's more likely in people that travel like that just because it happens. Or if you ship an animal in and it's riding on a trailer with other animals that are infected, even if they're in their own cabin, they can still cross-contaminate by being in the next one and brushing up against it. So it's better for them to have it and get it over with during the off season when you're not going to be showing, but it's still a frustration. And if you have children, you definitely want to keep them away from it because, like I said, any hangnail or anything, it's possible to get ORF in your system, and then it causes a really painful sore. All in all, after the virus has run its course, you're pretty much good. There's not a lot of after effects. Some people treat with WD-40. I've heard all sorts of motor oil and Vaseline. I've heard all sorts of home remedies for treating sour mouth or ORF. Regardless, I've tried the WD-40 thing and I don't feel like it's made anything happen any quicker. But those little sores, when they slough off, that's what gets in the soil and can cause contamination, and it's almost virtually impossible to prohibit that from happening. That's why I say that you have a quarantine area that you can scrape clean, lime really heavily, and then put down some new gravel or whatever to try and keep the virus from continuing to spread all the time. There is a vaccination for ORF, and it's like a skin scrape, but again, some people like it, some people don't, because there are different strains of the virus. So some people don't invest in the money and paying to do the vaccination. I hope that this information has helped you out and made you a little bit less nervous about dealing with ORF. It's definitely not a fun thing to have on your farm. It's definitely not something that anybody wants. You certainly don't want to sell an animal that has sour mouth or ORF to anyone else without being completely, fully disclosing the information to them, because nobody wants to get that kind of sore on their skin. It's really painful. I hope that this has made you guys feel a little bit better and understood a little bit more about ORF and sour mouth, and not so scary, because I remember when I first got it on my farm, I was devastated when we brought that animal home and I thought it was the end of the world. So you can survive it, the animals can survive it. It's not the end of the world, it's just unpleasant, and oftentimes they were right. When you have sheep and goats, you're going to end up dealing with sour mouth and ORF. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay tuned with what's going on the farm. Have a great rest of your day, guys.